what is work?
I don't know what work is. Because we frame it within certain activities or goals instead of community building and relationship building.
Work is something that nowadays we do in order to live.
Well, I guess there's a difference between paid work and unpaid work, isn't there?
And I guess there's this idea that, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's a thing, and that's not available to the majority of people now and throughout history.
Yeah, like my partner. He's retired. He works probably harder in non-paid work now than he did when the paid work. But he loves it.
How do you distinguish between work and leisure?
Yeah, work is such a weird thing. It compartmentalizes our relationships with each other. There's actually a lot of systems around us that we've chosen to be taught not to see. And we get lost as humans because we don't see that we're part of something. And work, for whatever reason, like paid employment, becomes our defining relationship.
But that doesn't mean that we can't apply passion to it, right? And our passion doesn't necessarily have to be about what we're doing, but who we're doing it for, right?
I'm an entrepreneur, I guess, or as I like to call, a soulpreneur. Soulpreneur is it's about following your soul's calling and following your heart and operating from that.
I currently work for the federal government.
I used to work for the government, and yeah, I didn't like that.
I think there's a lot of things that are sort of that can be uncomfortable about working for the government.
I just always felt foreign, like it wasn't me.
I think there's 100 layers of hierarchy and bureaucracy and very little accountability ultimately.
I knew I never wanted to do that. But I got into it. It was a pretty nice, steady paycheck.
It's kind of the relationship with the political that I find most difficult. There's a lot of kind of intentional ambiguity, and some of the kind of more systemic issues are not necessarily attractive to address by either the political or by senior public servants.
I've talked about white supremacy, genocide, and ethnic cleansing, and my university's newspaper changed it to talked about maternity care and the need for reconciliation. I'm like, that's not what I fucking wrote.
I'm not playing by the rules. I'm breaking down constructs. I'm doing things differently. And so it can be easy to feel knocked off your path just with outside influence and fear.
In high school, I wanted to be a doctor.
Definitely loved medicine. Knew I wouldn't be able to hack it.
And I actually got into medical school. But looking at it more, I also want to be a dad. I wanted to have a family. I'm a family man.
I mean, the real reason for farming is that I wanted to, same as my mom, take care of my kids.
I was thinking about my mom. Well, she passed away in May, and she was sick for 4 years, and so I thought a lot about her as a result. Her whole life she just tried different things. No limit to when you can start something new.
I went back to school. I did my master's. It was really, really mind-blowing for me. It talked about structural changes that, needed to happen. It was a little bit discouraging too, because, what's the point of helping somebody get to their doctor's appointment when what we really need to do is change the system.
We're caught in this very sick system that is really it wasn't built to support human flourishing. It exists to enrich certain people. But I would love to see an economy that really was designed to encourage human flourishing.
I wish that there was more space for us to look at as a form of expression and a form of connection and a way that we're using our energy. But that's just capitalism for you.
We haven't figured it out. And a lot of this is about the funding models and just someone to take a chance.
To be able to produce that food cheaply like that, there are people who are working for cheap to do that on big scale. We're trying to do it low impact on the environment. We don't use any plastic and it's all organic. And so it costs way more and takes way more time.
There's kind of an acknowledgement that the current system is built on foundations that are decades old. There's a lot of organizations that have been funded who've had sort of the benefit of that funding for a really long time, and so are, of course, in a better position to request additional funding. At the same time, there are lots of other organizations that are smaller and haven't had the same opportunities to develop because the foundational systems weren't built to support them. And in some cases were purposefully exclusionary. And then it just so happens that many of these underserved organizations are rooted in racialized communities, Indigenous communities, lower income communities.
Anti-Indigenous racism, systemic oppression, whiteness. Christianity has a huge role to play in oppression of people in this country.
There needs to be such a radical departure from the way we've been working.
But it's every step, there's white people wanting not to have this work done. And it's like, this isn't working for anyone.
People in 100 years will be looking back like, these assholes. Like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Actually do something. If humanity is going to survive the next 100 years, we're going to need to figure out how to do a better job with work. What are we willing to pay for? What do we value?
Yeah, aligning better with our values and with what really matters rather than what, we're indoctrinated to be in fear and that we need to survive and that work is a way to survive.
I do think that we're in a time right now where we're being called to do more than just show up. Part of my challenge has been trying to figure out am I in a position to make a more meaningful contribution than I'm currently without torpedoing my sort of fragile state?
I've lost my job several times now and not in ways that I wanted to. And it taught me, in terms of letting go and finding new and not being afraid of those shifts and trusting in that they're, for the better.
I kind of retired last fall, and I didn't burn out, but I kind of had to. I knew if I didn't stop working, I would.
One of my ride-along shifts, we had to deal with someone that was ODing. And it's very sad because you see their life going away. They're numb and they're lying there. And they've given up essentially on trying to confront their issues. And so we have to give them Narcan to help them, to resuscitate them. And it really does resuscitate them and they come back. And then you have to have a conversation with this person hey buddy, what's going on? I'm not a narc, I'm not the cops. Tell me what drug you've done. I'm not going to tell the police. Talk to me so that I can give you the proper treatment.
I heard so many sad stories, and it just comes to a point where I couldn't hear anymore.
People don't know what that does to your wellness.
Yeah, so currently I am off. So it's nice to kind of have a bit of a reprieve to just, because it can be a lot. 120 students in a day,
It's wearing me out, and I don't know how much longer I can do this. But I love the students.
It's so chaotic sometimes. I just make it fun for myself, and I hope the kids can find a safe space to learn. I think kids keep you honest, right? If you're not your authentic self, kids are going to know. They're going to call you on it.
The earth loves us, and the land loves us, and there's medicine everywhere. That's what I try to share with my students. And my work is you need to know this is a system, and we can interrupt that. It's not there or anybody's individual responsibility to fix the world, but they do need to work with themselves and the responsibilities that we carry inherently within us.
Kids are so disconnected these days, and I'm realizing more and more they just want connection, an opportunity to play.
I just love connecting with people and helping people just leave in a better state than they came.
Can I be so bold as to say even just connected with how they're feeling?
And often it's just through talking and giving people a chance to be heard or share what's on their mind. And it's a simple but effective way to shift.
We're all here, but we're all on an app chatting with each other. And maybe that's my perspective. I don't think they're connecting. Maybe they are connecting in another way.
A lot of things are done online now, but there's nothing better than like actually gathering in community and like sharing something that's really important to us, or having those conversations that can create new things.
There are just a lot of people in my neighborhood that might need, not me, but need someone in all kinds of ways.
Just going into things with like a full heart, open-mindedness, being able to create connections.
It's tricky because not everything of value has easily measurable social or economic benefits. So like, what is like success? Like, what is it even?
What would I rather be doing? I want to do sewing, and I want to go to the Oklahoma State Fair. I want to have like a hot dog.
It's just time with kids, time to create quality lessons.
To me, it's just using land and farming together and helping each other out.
So during COVID, I was laid off for 6 weeks. I got CERB and everything. It was okay. But I thought, right, I'm going to cut a trail along the creek, which leads to our neighbor's house. I think it maybe there had been some kind of trail there before, because in the bush was a sawmill, a small one, like a hand one. It's kind of old and rusty, got a big blade, and thought, I'm going to make a path. So I have a chainsaw, cut a path from us to the neighbor's house. Our neighbor has a disability, so I want to cut it wide enough that he could come on his ATV. It's really nice. Really proud of that.